XSEED English Grade 5th, Block number 3, Sequencing Events. Lesson Plan 1, Author's Purpose. Students, look at the cover page of A Day in the Life of a Washerman. Can you predict what we are going to read about? Is this a fiction or non-fiction story? As the title suggests, this story is about a day in the life of a washerman. From the real photograph of the washerman, we can say that this is a non-fiction story. Today we will read the story to identify why the author wrote it or the author's purpose for writing it. Open your content book and turn on to page number 25. Before we start the story, let's understand the keywords. Echoed. Echoed means made a sound that is the copy of another sound. For example, our voices echoed inside the caves. Offered. Offered means presented something to someone that they can choose to take or reject. For example, Meena offered the chocolate to her brother. Owed. Needed to give back to someone who has done something for you or given something to you. For example, I owed the shopkeeper some money. Remembered. Kept in memory. Did not forget. I remembered that it was my friend's birthday today. Shack. A small house that is not built very well. For example, many shacks were destroyed in the rain. Slung. Placed or carried. Past tense of sling. The soldier slung the rifle over his shoulders. Thwacking. Hitting something really hard with a loud sound. For example, the batsman thwacked the ball with the bat. As we have understand the keywords, it will be now easy for us to understand the story. Take out your page number 20 of content book and follow. Raghu was a hard-working washerman. His day always began early. After he had cleaned up his little shack, sweeping it with great care, he fed the stray dog he had picked up from the street. Then he prepared a small meal for himself. Shack is a small house that is not built very well, as we know. Next, he got onto his bicycle. He rode past the tall buildings. Every year there were more and more of them coming up, and his tiny shack looked even tinier in front of them. He greeted the watchman who sat on his chair. "Hello, Raghu. Nice morning." Raghu waved back. He never had time to notice how nice the morning was. Still, he smiled. If watchman uncle was in a good mood, that meant he must have heard from his family in his village in Bihar. He pulled out his notebook. There were many clothes he picked up for washing and ironing from different houses. The notebook helped him remember. It also helped him keep track of the money different people owed him. There were some who paid him at the end of the month, others who did so daily. Today there were different things to be picked up from different houses. He bundled all these clothes into a big white sheet that he slung over his shoulder. As he took the stairs down, Raghu tied with care the sheets with the crumpled up clothes inside it. Now he would have a long day ahead, washing and ironing the clothes. He cycled to the dhobi cart. This was near the river where some other washermen like him were already at work, scrubbing the dirt off the clothes, thwacking them against the rocks. so that the sound echoed everywhere. Raghu liked walking by the river. He liked the way his friends shouted across to each other over the noise. He waved to passing boatmen. Sometimes there were children on the boats who always waved back. As he waited for the clothes to dry, Raghu sat under a tree. He carefully wrote out the alphabet and words he was trying to teach himself. Already he knew two languages, but English was something everybody was learning. He wanted to learn it too. His clothes dried in the next 2 hours. He counted them again carefully. Then he folded them and set off for home. The rest of the day he would iron the clothes. Raghu knew a coal iron could work as well as the new lighter ones that ran on electricity. Where he worked, there was no electricity. He reached home and by then it was late afternoon. He would iron clothes for the next few hours. His dog barked with joy on seeing him. He held some pieces of grass and old twigs in his mouth, and now he offered them to Raghu as a gift. Raghu smiled. He no longer felt tired. His dog always had a way of making him smile. We have learned that the washerman lives in a shack. Every day he goes and collects clothes for washing. He then spends his day washing, drying, and ironing them. So, students, why do you think the author has written this story? How is this story different from Chakravarti Investigates? What are some features that you notice in this story? The author's purpose to write this story is to inform us how a washerman spends his day, what are the things he does, and who are the people he meets. This is a non-fiction story where the author narrates the sequence of events as they happen in a washerman's life. Whereas Chakravarti Investigate was a fiction story that the author wrote to entertain us. Some of the features are real photographs, past tense verbs, and words like next and then. In this story, we get information about facts and events of only a single day in the washerman's life. However, a biography gives us information about facts and events of the person's entire life. Now, can you answer how is the story A Day in the Life of Washerman different from a biography? So today we learn about what was the author's purpose for writing A Day in the Life of Washerman. We learn about how the story of Chakravarti Investigate is different from this one. We also learned how is the story A Day in the Life of Washerman different from a biography. Here we complete Block 3 Lesson Plan 1.